More documents to Congress ahead of a deadline today to turn over information related to the Russia investigation. Indications are that Republican House lawmakers are not yet satisfied. A source close to the process telling Fox that the newly available records do not fully comply with House subpoenas. And barring any new developments, the DOJ has not met the deadline the House imposed last week when it passed a resolution threatening penalties. Demands were not met. House Freedom Caucus Chairman Mark Meadows, who called for the resolution, said that the House should either hold Deputy Attorney General Rod Rosenstein in contempt or impeach him if the DOJ fails to meet today's deadline. During last week's hearing, Congressman Jim Jordan pushed the Deputy AG for answers. Watch.
Why are you keeping information from Congress?
Congressman, I am not keeping any information from Congress that it's appropriate.
In a few minutes, Mr. Rosenstein, I think the House of Representatives is going to say something different.
I don't agree with you, Congressman.
The House of Representatives is going to go on record saying you haven't complied with requests from a separate and equal branch of government, that you haven't complied with subpoenas, and you got 7 days to get your act together.
Sir, I certainly hope that your colleagues are not under that impression.
It seems as though some of them are. So is Rod Rosenstein essentially heading the Department of Justice with Jeff Sessions' recusal? Is he hiding and withholding critical documents?
Yeah, and thank God for organizations like Judicial Watch, because we continually find out that it's true. Rosenstein is stalling. I'm a transparency fan, and if they want to go behind closed doors and start there, come out of it and go to the American people, yes. Not the dog and pony show in these, committee hearings. But Rosenstein, you're right, is effectively running it. Sessions recused himself and caused this problem, and at some point, he's got to be called to account.
All right, is there more withholding than normal here, or is this just a political tool to remove Rosenstein from office?
Oh, I certainly think there's some of that going on, especially when you consider how partisan a number of these people, and partisan on both sides, obviously, but this particular campaign from the Freedom Caucus members there particularly stinks of it. It would only be worse if it was Devin Nunes doing it himself. Rod Rosenstein, I know it wasn't the general impression, at least here while I was watching, I was on America's Newsroom, that Rod Rosenstein was doing well, but I think he did extremely well in that hearing and being very clear about what they were doing and what things they weren't doing because they weren't able to. Mm-hmm. In terms of holding him in contempt, we know that doesn't really mean anything long term, but I think he's saying, throw down the gauntlet. You want to come at me, that's fine, but that would be up to the other side if they want to try to go for that. But I think, Jeff Sessions' recusal is something that a lot of people felt was necessary considering what had gone on during the campaign.
That's one heck of a recusal.
And it is. And listen, it's up to President Trump. If he wants a new attorney general, that is available to him. But the impression would be that he is, again, trying to tamper with this investigation. And Rod Rosenstein is his guy. Christopher Wray is his guy. These are all Trump appointees.
Can we give President Trump some credit for restraint that he hasn't fired?
It is kind of amazing at this point.
Because, again, he knows that the person who steps into that role could be worse. It could be harder.
And he knows optically how it would look.
Right. Ultimately, it's up to him. We deserve, and Kimberly Strassel wrote about this in the editorial pages of the Wall Street Journal, we deserve to know and find out if the FBI has been lying to the public about the origin of this Russia investigation, this investigation.
There are so many questions, and they could easily rectify those by releasing some of the documents. And in this case, I always err on the side of transparency, but especially here because of those unresolved questions.
Ultimately, President Trump could declassify absolutely everything if you keep if we keep getting stonewalled by the FBI.
But what are the political ramifications there? Why wouldn't he do that?
I think he wouldn't do it right now because there are two defenses that they use for not releasing these documents. One is that it reveals sources and methods. It's been proven time and again that they were lying. The FBI is lying and the DOJ when they say that, because all it has shown is that they're protecting embarrassment. The other one is that there's an ongoing investigation, and they don't have to hand over the documents during an ongoing investigation, and it is in fact ongoing. So that one becomes more difficult. I mean, once the investigation is over, he could then declassify the documents, and then we could all see, because at this point it has become so partisan that I think everyone's going to need to see the original documents and not take anyone's word for the interpretation
No, they
in
can't.
the meantime.
They can't. You can't trust anyone, and
No,
that's what
what's
voters
tragic.
know.
Well,
And there's so many voters on the fence. So let me ask you, what is the ultimate goal here? Is the ultimate goal to have more transparency in government, which I certainly hope it is, or is it to get Rod Rosenstein out of the Department of Justice?
The transparency is the bigger issue, and by the way,
Are they going to raise the same level of ire and passion when it's another issue where there's so much opacity? You can't see through it, but it has nothing to do with benefiting them politically.
The politics of this always gets in the way on both sides. This is where we've always been in agreement. Transparency. There are 2 pages that matter to this. The initial filing for that warrant.
FISA.
The president can, for the FISA warrant.
I would love to see that
application. If the president declassifies that, on that front page are the signatures of those who signed that what they got was what they got. That alone will unravel this investigation. And as you said, Melissa, time and time again, we find that they were lying, that it's about protecting embarrassment. It's about protecting the statements, activities, whatever, inside the DOJ. And by the way, this is weaponizing a bureau or a department against the American people.
Very good. Democrats seeing an opening to target President Trump after EPA Chief Scott Pruitt resigns. We're going to miss him so much amid a series of controversies. But will the Dems be able to capitalize in the midterms? Plus, one of Facebook's co-founders now pushing for the government to give cash handouts to certain income groups to fight income inequality. So is it about fairness or just a move towards socialism conveniently by a billionaire? We'll debate it next.